We begin this hour in the Middle East, where that ceasefire between the United States and Iran appears to be teetering on the edge. That's after both countries exchanged new attacks in the Strait of Hormuz yesterday, an attempt to seize control of that critical waterway. On Monday, the U.S. military said it sank 6 small Iranian boats as part of an effort to escort stranded tankers. That effort, dubbed Project Freedom. Iran said it fired warning shots on the U.S. vessels in the strait. State media released this footage, which it claims shows those strikes. And in a further escalation, the United Arab Emirates said it came under fire from 15 Iranian missiles and 4 drones. This footage shows a fire at an oil port there after it was hit by a projectile. Iran neither confirmed nor denied those attacks, but its foreign minister posted on X saying, quote, events in Hormuz make clear that there's no military solution to a political crisis. As talks are making progress with Pakistan's gracious effort, the U.S. should be wary of being dragged back into quagmire by ill-wishers. So should the UAE. Project Freedom is Project Deadline. In a few moments, we're going to speak with the senior fellow at the Middle East Institute, Alex Vitanka. Let's start things off, though, with NBC News Washington correspondent Alice Barr, who has the very latest. Alice, good morning.
Good morning, Joe. The U.S.-Iran ceasefire is on increasingly shaky ground. The U.S. military says it intercepted Iranian drones and blew up small boats. Both sides, though, are asserting their ships, their boats were not hit as tensions in the Strait of Hormuz hit a new flashpoint. New attacks on oil tankers in the Strait of Hormuz, testing the U.S.-Iran ceasefire, with Iran targeting U.S.-flagged ships with drones, missiles, and small boats. U.S. Central Command says American attack helicopters ran interference, and no U.S. ships were hit. President Trump downplaying Iran's capabilities.
They're reduced to these small, little, fast ships.
Right.
They're very cheap. And they attach a machine gun to it. They think that's good. We knocked out 8 of them today.
The ramped-up aggression comes as the U.S. Navy is attempting to guide commercial ships through the strait under the president's new Project Freedom. CENTCOM says 2 U.S.-flagged vessels made it through Monday as American consumers feel the pain of that vital energy route being choked off, with gas prices up more than 30 cents in a week.
It used to be like $35 at full tank. Now it's like about $55.
I'm 58 years old and I've never seen gas prices like this that I can remember.
I'm on a fixed income, disability retirement, and this isn't fixed. This just keeps going up and up and up.
Small businesses struggling, like this flower shop losing delivery drivers ahead of Mother's Day.
They see the impact and they want to fill up their tanks, and a couple have said that they're not doing it.
President Trump adamant the short-term pain is worth it.
I see it going down very substantially when this is over.
All amid a new potential pain point, with Iran again targeting its neighbor and U.S. ally, the United Arab Emirates. The UAE saying its air defenses shot down incoming Iranian drones and missiles, sending tensions soaring. Some context here. Longtime oil industry analyst Andy Lippow estimates American consumers overall are spending roughly $1 billion more per day in higher fuel costs. More than half that increase comes from gas prices, but it also factors in higher jet fuel prices and other energy costs. Joe?
All right, Alice Barr, thank you. Let's continue this conversation with Alex Vitanka. Alex, good morning. So just what's your takeaway after this new exchange in the Strait of Hormuz? Does President Trump's Project Freedom threaten this ceasefire now?
Good morning, Joe. Look, I think the way we've seen the Iranians react over the last 24 hours is a direct response to Project Freedom. How do they see it in Tehran? They see Project Freedom, if implemented effectively, basically meaning that the strait starts moving towards normalized maritime trade, which means the rest of the world is going to start seeing the benefits, while the U.S. blockade remains on Iran, which means Iran's going to be strangled. That obviously, from their point of view, is not a good place to be, and that's why they're trying to shape the agenda early on, and that's what they've done with these attacks.
We read the comment earlier from Iran's foreign minister. He says there's no military solution to a political crisis. He's calling for a more concerted effort in peace talks, which we know have stalled recently. Can they get things back on track? What's it going to take?
Well, Joe, what it takes is that sort of both sides agree quietly, not in public, that they don't necessarily have the upper hand the way both sides have been claiming for weeks. So you sit down and you have a focus on the core issues that matter. And we all know what they are. Strait of Hormuz needs to be opened up so the global economy doesn't suffer. The Iranians have to make big concessions on their nuclear program, and they want some sanctions relief in turn. You do that in the first instance, you have maybe created trust, and you build on that going forward. It will take many months, if maybe years, but that's how the process starts. Joe, we're talking about two countries that have been essentially at war or in conflict with one another for 47 years. You don't undo that in a couple of days, a couple of weeks, and that is something both Tehran and Washington need to recognize and deal with.
Looking at things now, the Trump administration says the Iranian government is deeply divided. That might be one of the main reasons for this standoff. But in a recent article, you say the situation is a lot more complicated. Help us understand why.
No, I don't know where this idea came from. I'm sure there are divisions in the Islamic Republic. That's been true throughout this system's life for 47 years. I don't see divisions in Tehran on the core issue of preventing the war from being restarted again. I don't see any disagreements. They want to avoid that war. Where I think you can expect big fights in Tehran is the bigger picture going forward in terms of should they have normalized relations with the United States? What's the position going to be on the state of Israel? Their relations with some of these proxies like Hezbollah and Houthis. That's when you can expect a big policy fight. But we're not there yet. We're talking about opening the Strait of Hormuz, dealing with the nuclear issue. And if you can get that done, then we can worry about the fight in Tehran and what that means for U.S.-Iran relations going forward.
All right. Alex Vitanka, always good to tap into your expertise. Thanks so much for joining us this morning. In Washington, the Metropolitan Police Department is investigating after the Secret Service exchanged gunfire with a man. It happened yesterday just blocks from the White House. Agents say they spotted what they described as a suspicious individual who appeared to have a firearm. He was near the Washington Monument.
They called in support from our marked uniformed Secret Service police to make contact with that individual. Upon making contact, that individual fled briefly on foot, withdrew a firearm, and fired in the direction of our agents and officers.
NBC News political reporter Megan Leibowitz joins me now with more on this. Megan, good morning. So walk us through what we know about this exchange of gunfire between the suspect and the Secret Service.
Good morning, Joe. Well, I want to start off with some information that we're just learning from a little bit earlier this morning about the suspect. Two law enforcement officials have identified the suspect to NBC News as 45-year-old Michael Marks, who holds a Texas driver's license. And I want to walk you through that, how everything unfolded yesterday. We heard from Deputy Director of the Secret Service, who said that it was plainclothes officers who had spotted what he described as a suspicious individual that appeared to have a firearm. Those plainclothes officers then alerted uniformed officers who went to go confront this individual. And that's when, according to the Secret Service, the suspect allegedly fled, drew a firearm, and fired toward officers who then fired back, hitting the suspect. Now, all of this had unfolded shortly after Vice President J.D. Vance's motorcade had passed nearby just moments before all of this had started to unfold. But according to the Secret Service, there was no indication that the suspect was trying to approach that motorcade. Now, also, as this was unfolding, the White House North Lawn was evacuated by Secret Service officers with long guns. The White House North Lawn is where many reporters are stationed throughout the day at the White House. Now, they were moved into, as you can see on your screen, they were rushed into the White House briefing room. They were allowed back shortly after that. But, again, a very scary situation unfolded as people were trying to determine what was actually going on, Joe.
Yeah, a close call for a number of reasons. I do understand a bystander was shot. What are we learning about that person's condition?
Yeah, that's right. Officials are describing this person as a minor, a teenage boy who was believed to be a tourist. He was shot. He suffered a superficial minor wound that was described to NBC as a grazing injury. That's from the ricochet of a bullet. He was treated at a hospital. Now, asked by a reporter yesterday whether that bystander had been hit by the suspect, the deputy director of the Secret Service said that he he would let doctors figure that out. He said that everything that he has seen so far led him and investigators to believe that it was from the suspect. Now, as you can see on your screen, NBC also obtained video yesterday of a man who is handcuffed and loaded into a stretcher. A law enforcement source had later identified the man to NBC as the suspect. In that video, you can see that the man appears to be awake and alert. NBC's also learning this morning that that suspect remains hospitalized with multiple gunshot wounds, including to his back and to his leg.
And Megan, top of mind, this happened 9 days after the White House Correspondents' Dinner. You and I were there when an armed man stormed the security checkpoint. He's now accused of trying to assassinate President Trump. Do we know anything about the suspect in yesterday's shooting, if this incident was politically motivated at all?
So there are a lot of outstanding questions here that we're hoping to get more information in the hours and the days to come, including one of the biggest questions is whether this had anything to do with any kind of threat against President Trump or any members of the administration. So several offenses are expected to be charged as early as today. We're learning this morning. Multiple officials also are telling NBC News that there are investigative steps that are being taken to try to learn a little bit more about the suspect's digital footprint. And also that the phone and search warrants are expected to be executed at the suspect's house and at other places as they are potentially needed. But again, a very scary situation that unfolded just a little bit over a week after the White House Correspondents' Dinner situation took place as well. Now, yesterday, reporters asked the deputy director of the Secret Service during that press conference whether the situation could potentially have had anything to do with other alleged assassination attempts against President Trump. Take a listen to how he responded.
We're patrolling this area, and every site we do 24/7 hardcore. Whether or not it was directed to the president or not, I don't know, but we will find out.
Again, still many outstanding questions about the suspect's potential motive and whether this does have anything to do with any potential threats against the administration, but all questions that we will be asking in the hours and the days ahead, Joe.
No doubt. All right, Megan Leibowitz, thank you so much. The abortion pill mifepristone is once again available by mail nationwide for now. On Monday, the Supreme Court temporarily blocked a ruling from a New Orleans-based federal appeals court that restricted access to the abortion pill. That appellate court ruled it could only be available after an in-person appointment. In two brief orders yesterday, Justice Samuel Alito said the appeals court ruling would be on hold until at least May 11th. That pause will give the high court time to consider separate emergency requests from two drug makers, Danco and GenBioPro. Those companies argue the state of Louisiana, which sought the restriction, does not have legal standing to bring the case. In world news, we're hearing from some of the passengers stranded aboard a cruise ship at the center of a suspected hantavirus outbreak. So far, 3 people have died. NBC News correspondent Camila Bernal spoke with some of those trapped on board.
A desperate plea from passengers trapped on board a cruise ship.
What's happening right now is very real for all of us here.
Where a suspected hantavirus outbreak has left 3 people dead and another in intensive care. The ship, now docked off the coast of Africa, has 149 people on board, including at least 3 others who the ship's operator says require medical care. For now, nobody is being allowed off the boat.
We're not just headlines. We're people. People with families, with lives, with people waiting for us at home.
Hantavirus is usually spread by rodents. It's the same disease that killed Betsy Arakawa, the wife of late actor Gene Hackman.
There's a lot of uncertainty, and that's the hardest part.
It's unclear if the passengers on this ship were infected on board or before getting on. And while rare, there is a variant that is transmitted human to human. It's typically found in South America, which is where this cruise ship originated 3 weeks ago.
In the very rare case of human-to-human transmission, it does require direct contact with human bodily fluids.
As the ship's operator figures out next steps, everyone on board is stuck waiting and hoping the virus is contained.
All we want right now is to feel safe, to have clarity, and to get home.
All right, thanks, Camila, for that report. Federal investigators are looking into a very close call involving a United Airlines plane landing at Newark Liberty International Airport. An inbound flight from Venice appears to have come in too low, struck a light pole during approach, injuring a truck driver on a highway near the airport. The incident was all caught on dash cam video. NBC's Stephanie Gosk has the details.
A dramatic dashcam video showing the moment United Flight 169 from Venice comes in too low, clipping a light pole seconds before landing at Newark International Airport. This unsuspecting driver was on the New Jersey Turnpike Sunday making a bakery delivery. You can hear the plane approaching and then the glass shattering. This freeze frame appears to show the wheels of the plane out the driver's window. New Jersey State Police say a landing tire and the underside of the plane collided with the pole, which then hit the truck. The NTSB is trying to determine if the plane hit the truck as well.
Holy oh my goodness.
Patrick Oyulu took this video showing the plane just after impact.
Did you see all that wind? Oh my goodness.
Are you thinking today that you were a bit lucky?
Whoever I speak to, I just say I thank God that I'm alive today.
Winds were gusting nearly 40 miles an hour.
The pilots had control of the airplane. It was just that with the gust, they let it get a little bit low.
Remarkably, the driver was taken to the hospital with only minor injuries, according to police. United Airlines says the plane landed safely and no one was injured, adding it will conduct a rigorous flight safety investigation into the incident, and the crew has been removed from service as part of the process. The truck driver's employer calling the incident a miracle.
No kidding. All right, thanks to Stephanie Goss for that story. The NTSB is on the scene. It's asking United Airlines for both the cockpit voice recorder and the flight data recorder. A preliminary report is expected next month. Let's get a check now on your morning News Now weather. NBC's Al Roker has the forecast for us. Al, good morning.
Hey there, we're looking at some showers and thunderstorms stretching from Columbus all the way to Little Rock. But back to the west in the Rockies, we're talking some snow. That's right. Here we are, Cinco de Mayo, and we're talking about snow. You can see winter weather advisories, winter storm warnings stretching from Alamosa up to Casper, Lander as well. All told, we could see upwards of a foot or more, 2 feet even in some of the mountains in the foothills, and they need the snow. For example, Denver, nearly 30 inches below average since July 1st. Salt Lake City, even worse, so that snow is much needed. Now today, moderate to heavy snow in the central Rockies. Storms firing up overnight through the southern plains. We do have a risk of severe weather stretching from Memphis, Little Rock, all the way down to Dallas. Tornadoes can't be ruled out, damaging hail and winds. Tomorrow, rain into the northeast, parts of New England. Strong storms developing from Georgia all the way down to Texas. In fact, we have another risk of severe storms just to the north of Houston, to the east of Austin, Jackson, Birmingham, Montgomery. We have the risk of maybe showers and thunderstorms, wind gusts of up to 60 miles per hour. The heaviest rain locally up to 5 inches from Jackson, Tuscaloosa on into Atlanta. And here in the Northeast today, because of the dry conditions and windy conditions, we could be looking at an elevated fire risk, red flag warnings from Boston all the way down to Norfolk, Virginia, and into Danville. Now, briefly, summer-like conditions here in the Northeast and mid-Atlantic states. Temperatures that are going to be 10 to 15 degrees above average, while 10 to 25 degrees below average through the plains and into the Mississippi River Valley. Today, Hartford, 81, Washington, 85. But then you go to St. Louis, 57. That's 17 degrees below average. Denver, 43 degrees. That's 25 degrees cooler. Even colder tomorrow, and 39 in Denver. Cincinnati, 61. And over the next few days, temperatures do start to warm up into the low to mid-60s in Boston. Cincinnati, you're looking at temperatures in the low 70s. Music City, Nashville, touching 80 by the time we get to Saturday. That's your latest weather. Back to you.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.